And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our fourth and final matchup of this very first Playday Stage 2 in 2021 season of APAC North League. It's Fnatic versus their opponents of Cyclops Athlete Gaming. In the future, hopefully, both of them will be in Japan, as Fnatic are still preparing themselves for that long and arduous journey. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Elish. With me are my fantastic
What's up?
girls over here. It's Jess. It's M. How are we doing?
I was doing the Will Smith, like,
There's. And I am Jada Pinkett Smith.
You are as good. That's what I'm
Wow.
trying to go with.
I wish.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's good. We're here. We're on the desk. This chair is very small. I sat down on it first and
Did you not pull it up? Like, do the lever thing?
no, because you're like stood, aren't you?
No, I'm
Oh,
not
no.
sitting
It's
down.
maxed out.
Guys, this is as high as the chair will go for me,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and you can tell because I'm standing up, and this is the kind of level that
Yeah.
we're trying to work with it here. Okay, we're working with what we've got. We're all cute-sized here in one way or another. For it, let's have a chat about our two teams, Fnatic versus Cyclops. And we'll go with Cyclops first, a team that really has gone very high up in the standings in total. We saw it in Stage 1. An incredible team. They performed better than expected for a lot of people as well at Invitational, despite the rough time that APAC had overall. M, what can you fill us in on the Japanese squad?
It's a team that's getting better and better, and they've just had a great performance at SI. Okay, they went out in groups. How can you say that? Because we saw the performance and we saw how close that group was. It was one result that was the reason that they went home in that situation. They brought a lot of surprise to a lot of people. It was all best of ones that they had to play, which wasn't comfortable for anybody. You put them in a best of 3, you put them in an elongated situation. Maybe they could have pulled more, maybe not, but you don't know that. What we do know is from the games that we saw, and they were to the edge, they were to the nails, and they were really great competitions. They took Liquid out, who were obviously an eventual finalist, and you know, and they were able to take stuff from Team 1 as well. And you hope that they can build off that, because they started on an impressive split. For my money, a good SI, they can go up and up here.
That is not a lot of money to put down, but completely
No.
understandable given that situation.
I get paid
In Renown,
in renown.
much like all of us.
And
Yeah.
pens. This is a Rainbow Six 2021 pen.
I don't even get pens. There
It's
you
a
go.
wonderful. There you go. You can't have this.
It's mine.
This is all I have.
I was going to say, it's the house deposit.
Hey, don't forget, your jacket's still here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the back.
We found it when we walked into the
In
studio.
August.
Yes, last year.
Memories.
It's a good thing it's still here, though. That is one thing we got to work with. Fnatic on the other side, of course, our Australian squad. They're missing one player on their starter that we talked about earlier in Alfama. So this is the lineup that you'll be seeing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Mentalist will be the replacement for Alfama. It says that he's got a 1 rating there, but that's just a placeholder for the moment because he doesn't have any stats just yet for the year, because they did sit him out for a while. I believe he also had personal life stuff. He was moving. There was a lot of things going on. I think he is a great player. He's a young gunner. I even remember about 2 years ago, he managed to play Siege almost perfectly with a touch pen. You know, one of those touch pens? Yeah, instead of using a mouse, he used one of those touch
He does do a lot of drawing art, actually.
Well, that would be where it came from. And so he's extraordinarily accurate. And that's why, you know, Fnatic first brought him into the squad, was because he was extraordinarily, like, mechanically gifted. And he is able to hit his shots. Unfortunately, he's replacing another mechanically gifted, but the support player in IGL, which Mentalist is not necessarily geared towards. So I do wonder if that will change the dynamic considerably. They're going up against CAG, who is going to be a very, very tough opponent. So we'll have to see whether or not that shakes it up in a positive or a negative way.
All right, I saw the little shimmy.
shake it up.
Let's see our head-to-head for this one then, ladies and gentlemen. One player out of each one of these two teams. I'm going to put them up on the screen and see what it is. It's Tex and Anitoon. M, could you please help us out?
They're the best boys. As Jess highlighted at the beginning of the day, we're having a look at who came off the first stage with the best stats and in the best position. So we're not directly comparing these two players outside of otherwise they were statistically the best player for their team. Because at the end, we want to have a look and see how they've done, how they've grown, are they doing as well?
Dog? That's what
Yeah,
I know.
and you know, I think one of the things here, if we're talking about Anaton, is there was a huge amount of consistency, but sometimes at a bit of a cost. He's obviously going in with that Monty. He's sort of synonymous with that role. He'll play it very aggressively. He'll be a bit of a big push, and when he goes down, it's a bit of a cost. But you could say the same about Tex, because Tex was sort of massive pop-off and then nowhere to be seen, and then 20 kills, 2 deaths. Like, it was just And if he can find consistency there,
amazing.
yeah,
He
terrifying.
would be an amazing player if he could be consistent. I think Anaton is more consistent than Tex. So the big thing for me is that for Tex personally, all he needs to do is stop trying to store all this energy. I'm getting this like anime vibe in my head, like a Dragon Ball Z, and he's storing all this energy like
Kaioken
game,
×3.
and then he goes Kamehameha, and then just like one game he goes nuts, right? And he just needs to be able to spread that energy over a few different games, and then things will be good. Anaton, he's also an Ashe main as well.
Okay, is that related to the anime thing, or is it?
No, I'm just pointing
because
out the
they all
fact
have anime profile pictures. Or
I'm just pointing out the fact that.
do you have an anime profile picture?
No,
Okay,
Not yet.
not yet. Yeah, see, that's what
Des does.
Yeah.
For himself.
Let's see which map we're going to be playing on for this matchup. Our final one, of course, of the day. We're going to bring them all up on the screen, and it's Chalet again. Interesting. Oregon will be banned by Fnatic, which is why we're going to Chalet. And because that decider was pushed through by Fnatic, it means that Cyclops can pick their starting side, and they are going on the defensive for this one. Fnatic on attack. Things are a bit different here in APAC on Chalet, as we also saw in our last game, still being figured out. Last time these two played, Fnatic overall were a bit more comfortable. There's a bit of a differential that they could work with, but Chalet is kind of the thing you can kind of throw in there just to...
APAC playoffs? So
Yes.
you're about, yeah.
Yeah,
You
no,
go.
you take it away.
Oh,
You've already got it written down there.
I do
Get it
have
out.
things written
Whoa.
down. Yeah, because I'm the only, I use pen and paper, again, related to, this is all I have. Yes, they played Chalet. Chalet was the only map that Fnatic were able to take in the APAC playoffs in the best of 3. It was the lower bracket final. It went 7-3 in Fnatic's favor. It was the second map in the showdown. It was a very good Chalet. It was very well put together for a map that we're still sort of seeing as developed, and C9 are hopefully not seeing for another long period of time. It was well put together. Their attacks were well played, their balance, it was them at their best. But it also, now it's Cyclops, have they learnt from it? Have they learnt from, especially they're at SI, they had that opportunity, which we talked about at the beginning, which I'm sure you'll talk about, was your competition of scrimming and fighting people outside of your radius. They played against everybody in the world on Chalet, which came up quite a lot in SI.
Oh, yeah. People love Chalet, which is fair enough. And in APAC only, it has almost a 50-50 attacking and defending rate. So you never know what you're going to get. It's like the little, outlier in the world.
Still there, and we're still trying to figure out Chalet. Of course, there's some regions where we talk about North America, and even slowly and surely we'll see teams in Brazil kind of improving on their place in it. But we'll see what APAC still needs to figure out on Chalet. It's our last matchup for today in our first Playday of Stage 2. Jess M, thank you so very much. It is time for us to toss it to our casters. Again, a snowy time in the French Alps. And how many feet did you lose by
I was going to say, M just dropped an enormous amount of size. If I stood up, I'd be as tall as you.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about tall and short. We're going to take it to Des and Tim.
Short and short, let's be real.
Yeah, I think I'm just think that one.
I don't know where the toll comes in.
Me neither. Don't see a lot of that here. And that's just the start of the show. I've just been teleported to Paris and I'm sat about 6 foot in the air. It's the only time I'm ever going to find myself feeling that tall. But Ace, last game of the day. It's going to be one to enjoy as it is Chalet, a map that everyone is still very excited to see. It's Fnatic and Cyclops throwing down. I don't want to say successful, but what's the word I'm looking for here? Revered team. Cyclops coming back after putting on some fantastic games against international competition. Fnatic without Alfama. The big question stands, when is that stage for Fnatic going to appear, when they really live up to the expectation that many had before the APAC North League got underway?
Well, it's a fascinating one for me, Des, because looking at the social vote there's a lot of weight towards Cyclops, 65% nearly going for Cyclops. Now, interestingly, if you remember, Fnatic had a bad start to Stage 1. They lost the 3 opening games. Can you guess who they turned it around against in Playday 4? It was, of course, none other than Cyclops. They came out with a 7-4 win against them on Villa. It was a tight game. It was a good game, but Fnatic able to close it out. Now, interestingly, I think you can draw some parallels between those maps, Des, Villa and Chalet, because you've got a lot of vertical requirements on Chalet, much as you do on Villa, especially when attacking the lower floors. You still want to get control of that top floor and try to get those vertical angles. It's quite a big map, is Chalet. There's plenty of room to roam. There's plenty of spaces to manipulate and to get yourself involved in. So for me, this is a really interesting one. I maybe disagree with that social vote a little bit here. I could see this playing out in Fnatic's favour.
Did you vote for Fnatic in your predictions?
I don't think I did.
Well, that tells me enough, mate. You're with the socials.
I didn't know the map then, though.
I mean, maybe you're right. Time will tell as we get into it. You can't ignore the fact that Alfama isn't here, because last stage I can think of so many maps, Cafe being the one that really jumps to mind, though, of when he was the... At any time in the world, there is like a rule of Desertu in this game, right? There is a shotgun hero in the world at any given time in existence. Alfama was a lot of it for stage 1. Players running into him, 2k, 3k, he didn't care. He was collecting kills for the team and saving them rounds that otherwise I don't think Fnatic may have won. That's what makes me slightly nervous. Not at all to say that Mentalist is not a good player. We saw him do incredible things last year, but you're still missing a player that has brought so much to them. It's going to be a bit of a rework, a bit of a rejiggle in the team. This is where Cyclops, I think, after the high that they've ridden at SI, can really step in and make some magic happen. But I could be totally wrong. You could be totally wrong. The only way to prove it is to get into the game. So, very quickly looking at those bans, by the way, the Monty, we can talk about that all day long. A lot of teams just don't like it. It's seen as a bit of a cheese pick. Changes how rounds often tend to play out. The Lion, favoured by some teams, especially on the attacking side. Well, only on the attacking side, duh. On particular maps to help you hunt down those roamers, stop them running away, and pair behind things like the drones. Well, you run and you die, you stay and you die. You don't really get to live is generally the short answer coming off the back of it, I think it's fair to say, Ace.
It certainly is now. The Monty, as you say, an interesting one as well. I mean, we do see quite a bit of shield play here in APAC. I think it is one of the differentiators when, you know, when we talk about the way that they play differently to the rest of the world. And it's not to say that the shields don't get used elsewhere. It's just they tend to get used more in APAC. Now, that's certainly a frost trap to watch out for. There's going to be some frustration if somebody finds themselves snagged in amongst the flora and the fauna there later in the round.
See, for those who maybe haven't heard us joke about this before, Ace is prolific for being a magnet towards any frost mats that exist.
Prolific's a strong word.
Is it really? Gifted,
no.
Specialised, whatever word you want to use, you've definitely got a thing for walking in towards frost mats in the same way that Lucy's got a thing for walking into spawn peaks. An opening kill coming out for Black Ray, one of the big fraggers for these boys in stage 2 of last year. I believe I recall him dropping in 17 kills on one of the Oregon games that they played. Not necessarily always hyper consistent, but I'm hoping to see that build again off the back of SI. Is the recurring theme, is that almost success, that almost stage moment with the playoffs that they didn't quite make due to 2 8-7 losses on Cafe on the final day of the group stage, something they can carry across here back into the home region.
A great start and a little message sent to Fnatic that they are in for an aggressive game here. The Cyclops are going to look to get up in their faces and make them pay for any mistakes. Now, Fnatic, they're looking to get themselves into the top floor. As I said, coming into this, I drew the parallel with Villa, that vertical play is important here on Chalet. There's a lot of opportunity. Black Ray finds an opportunity onto Mentalist, taking down the Iana. That's going to be 5 versus 3 and a great start for Cyclops here in round number 1.
It's almost one of those things that we spoke about in the earlier series about drones covering key stairs, like red stairs on Cafe. I think brown stairs was one that we touched on. Here, nothing on the solar stairs, nothing watching through Trophy. You can normally have a player sat on Trophy window and catch that cross in towards the solar stairs, not expecting it. Black Ray is just playing a bit of a free running game here. He's not playing Rainbow Six Siege. He's playing the let's run around the map and kill everything that breathes. It could have been an ace, but Anaton's going to take it away. That wasn't a round of Siege, Ace, is all I can describe it as. It was literally a playground coming out for Black Ray.
It was little more than a terrorist stunt, wasn't it? He was just moving around the map at will, just picking up kill after kill. 4k on the round. He will unfortunately not make the ace, but it won't be the end of his world, I'm sure. A nice flawless round to begin with for Cyclops there, and they come into this one looking hot. And I tell you what, that little sort of mini prediction I made coming into this one, I'm already sweating that one, Des.
Yeah, it might come back to bite you a little bit, mate. The true caster curse might just strike. But again, I won't dig too deep into that first round. There was a spawn peek off the back coming out of Black Ray. The second kill came from a run, well, not really a run, it was more of a crouch walk up the back of those what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the goddamn call up we joke about? Solarium, however you want to say it. For some reason, Astro is in my mind. Either way, the crouch walk up those stairs, normally you'd have that caught out by someone on the kitchen window, either a drone inside a trophy, but there was no such thing present, and he walked away with an absolute freebie to then go on to collect 2 more kills. So, let's park that one off and just say, okay, fair enough, Cyclops, you got a bit of a sucker punch in there. Let's see how the second round plays out, because I guarantee you, Fnatic are not going to get caught by the same spawn peak twice, and I don't imagine Cyclops will try it a second time either.
I can't see them getting caught by any at this point. That is, you know, if anything's going to bring spawn peeking into sharp focus, Des, it is getting hit by one in the first round. That, you know, Fnatic at this point, they will absolutely, I guarantee, not get caught out by that again. I would be very, very surprised if that was the case. There'd be big questions to be asked. There's a lot of experience on that team, and they know well enough how to avoid it. So now, interestingly, Ayagator gets himself all the way down into the basement there. He's on the pulse, so has the heartbeat scanner, and he's going to be looking to provide a lot of information. Anaton onto Mentalist. Can we count that as a spawn peak?
I
did say there was big questions to be asked there. I basically guaranteed that wasn't going to happen. What are Fnatic doing to me?
It wasn't quite a spawn peak. It was about 15-20 seconds into the round. It was more as they were starting to approach the library. I think they thought, and this is very common, by the way, on this site, when you're defending up towards the northeast, you'll also have players positioned inside of library. The idea being normally that you sit in the bottom left corner of library, tuck yourself in nice and tight with some ADSs, and you're there to waste a ton of time. What they didn't expect was for one of the players to go right up against the window at the top of the ladder and peek as the player is coming up there. So it's a nice cheeky early kill, and that's why you saw the two players of Cyclops running away like they were kids that had just robbed a sweet shop, back to site, out of danger, content with that opening kill they collected.
And then Stigs is going to level it up. That's exactly what Fnatic needed. That's their first kill of the game, and they didn't need this one going as a landslide against them either. Now, Anaton is dead, and we can see that he's flicking on and off the cams, but he's also just cycling through his own player perspectives as well. He's back on the cams, just trying to provide as much information as possible, as is Mentalist, straight away dead and onto the drones. So looking again to feed in any information that his eyes can pick up whilst his teammates continue on in the round 4 versus Lusty. Very close to a shot through the soft wall there, but Katarada just manages to dip away with his life for the time being. A little bit of chip damage, but not the end of the world. Coming up to the final minute, the hard breach is now in action, and Fnatic, they're looking to move towards a potential plant here, but Ayagator, he could be a problem on that hard angle on the inside if they don't deal with him when they try to move through to dining. They're trying to clear him out and make sure there's no potential for a nitro denial, which is exactly what happens. Mag, he's just going to relocate. He gets away with his life there. He can try to get the diffuser down again, and that is well played by Fnatic to manage that danger.
Really, really well played. Yeah, to have the long angle. Should he not see him? Does he just not see him, or was that just... That might have been a debate on our side, I don't know, but I swear he saw those pixels moving and must have known there was a man there. Either way, 4 versus 3 for Cyclops. They've got a lot of a bounce back to do here. They find another one on the side of Fnatic, a 4 versus 2. Blackray steps up for some action, but boys, you've got about 10 seconds to start this recovery effort. Someone needs to get on the diffuser here as well, and I don't think it's going to happen. There goes one more, in fact, in the way of Blackray, 2 versus 2. Someone needs to start sticking it right now. They're going to have to run for it, but Stigs does it all. It's a 4K for him in the round, and Fnatic show it's not going to be an absolute rollover like our previous fixture. They bring things up to 1-on-1. We've now got a game on our hands, Ace.
We really do. That was the Fnatic that we were looking to see. We didn't want another roll over here. Cloud9 suffering one in the last matchup, 7-0 to Damwon Kia. But now, Fnatic, they make much more of a game of this than we saw out of the Korean Giants Cloud9. They managed to level things up 1-1 after 2 rounds. And Cyclops, they need to just go back to the drawing board a little bit there. Blackray, 6-1 so far, going very well inside of 2 rounds. They're going to need a little bit more from everybody else. They can't just rely on that one man to put rounds on the board.
Absolutely not. I mean, it starts out the way where you've got Stigs getting a 4K in round 2, the other way around, it's Blackray getting the 4K, so a bit of a dice up between 2 players at the moment, admittedly, although that last round, much more team focus from Fnatic than maybe round was for Cyclops. I'll commend them for the same thing that you did, by the way. That vertical control that they set up by having the holes opened up on the downstairs so they could see all the way through to kitchen, just to stop that pulse stepping out when they went for the plant. It's almost like they adapted mid-round and acknowledged, okay, we're in a spot where we can plant, but we know that there is going to be a C4 downstairs. We know there's a pulse on side. We've droned him out. We need to pin him in place first so his C4 can't come through and deny the plant. So for Fnatic, really happy to see that adaptation coming out. Goes to show those are the things that you come to see from great teams. It's just about getting all the pieces to come together at the right time that can be the real challenge.
It was great, recognising the danger particularly, and then, like you say, just coming up with a solution on the fly and getting the job done was great. Now, we've got a mirror on the board this time around, always an operator that fascinates me because we see her banned out so much, and a lot of the time, even when available, teams will play without her because they've just got used to it now. You know, once upon a time, she was a real defensive stalwart, but in came the bans and out went mirror, and as scrims happen without her, more and more teams get familiar with playing, and they choose not to switch back, but occasionally we do get those black mirrors brought along. Now, there has been a recent change, we must remember. If the attackers get close enough to put a melee hit onto that mirror, it will shatter the glass, so it renders it basically useless at that point.
Does indeed, and that's assuming they get there. And we theory crafted over this before, actually, where about, okay, well, how would you get that close to a mirror? Because more often than not, a mirror is placed next to a soft wall, so the defender playing behind it can collect intel quite safely behind the window, and then step out to the right or the left, depending on where the soft wall is, spray through it or through a couple of holes that have been opened up, and you basically got a pre-fire lined up for you with the exact knowledge of where that player is. The only real way that it can work for you is if you smoke off that soft wall and then use that as your cover to get close to the mirror window and smash it. For many teams, they'd just say, look, we're just going to nade it. We're going to send Flores in to clear things out. Speaking of which, not really seeing the Flores so far now that you mentioned it for Fnatic. So far today, it has been picked up by the majority of teams, but for Fnatic, it's not part of their strat book.
Nope, not using him as of yet, finding value elsewhere. But you got to remember the Thatcher is available this time. We've seen a lot of Thatcher bans and then Flores brought along, you know, going in, trying to clear out those electronics. But this time, Thatcher's available. So you sort of think there's a bit less risk there. You know, you can't shoot out an EMP grenade, which is generally what's been happening with the Flores drones. So I think that's probably going to be an influencing factor here now. We've got this attack building. We are 1 minute left in the round, yet to find an opening kill, which is stark contrast to round 1 and 2, where Cyclops have been able to pick one up within, at most, the opening 20 seconds. In round 1, it was even quicker than that. But this time, Fnatic, they've managed to get themselves inside the building. They've got themselves established. They've still got 5 on the board, and they're in a position to start opening up the site wall. Now, Mentalist opens things up with a frag grenade onto Alligator. 45 seconds left to go, and Fnatic are poised to push onto site very, very soon.
Interesting, they've got a couple of players playing on the downstairs here. Either they're going for a flank or they're looking towards a potential C4 coming up through a hatch or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hoping to God that Fnatic have got themselves a drone on the downstairs and have knowledge of this going on. Given there are a couple of players looking towards the south of the lobby, you suspect that they do have an idea at the very least, but one kill coming out there from Gadarada onto Tex. 4 versus 4 in 15 seconds. This could be everything. If they get a great flank off now, that could end the round for Fnatic.
Anaton just taking the quick peeks out from behind the mirror there, looking to find his man through the soft wall. Won't be able, but Blackray, he will manage to find the kill onto Mag. Stiggs gets Anaton, and the diffuser is down on the ground. As you said, there's a potential for a nitro denial here. Big shots coming in onto Mentalist. A fraction of health left, and it was down to Blackray to finish him off as he tried to put that diffuser down on the ground. Absolutely no option as the 3 minutes had ticked away, and it was the only thing he could do to try and stick the plant there, but will not be successful. And Cyclops, they managed to take round 3. That puts them 2-1 ahead now, and this one is bouncing back and forward.
Really smart from Cyclops as well. Fnatic did exactly the same thing this round as they did in the previous, just in reverse, where before they were attacking the top floor, they opened up the ground floor. Here they were attacking the ground floor, so they opened the top floor from the main lobby stairs. It gave them that sight line all the way through office, so they knew what was going on. No one could deny from above. They had the vertical coverage. Problem is, they didn't anticipate that you'd have a couple of players rotating in the final 30 seconds or so to play inside of the basement. And even though they didn't need the C4, they just won by the long-range gunfights. That added security was there from the mirror that if they needed the C4, it was going to win them the round regardless. Really smart from Cyclops, probably identifying, here's what Fnatic want to do, how can we adapt to that? Oh, this strat we've got works really well for this, let's run that one, and making use of it. Really excited to see what happens if we return back to that site in the future. For now, though, it's going to be stepping into Baron Gaming, which, you guessed it, means another defensive library.
Talking about returning to sites, they are returning to their round 1 site of victory here, Cyclops. They managed to get Bar successfully defended in round 1. It was a flawless round, as we saw. Blackray 4K really did take Fnatic apart. Now, let's see if Fnatic can do anything differently this time. With 5 men on the board to begin with, they lost one within the first 5 seconds last time around. So if they can get themselves to the building without casualties, we're going to see a little bit of a different round, I think, because Fnatic, they were on the back foot desperately from the beginning of the round last time. So I'm interested to see a full force attack from them this time. But Anaton, He's being cheeky, Des. He's looking for that peek underneath the barricade. He's just waiting. There's nobody spawned over there. Stiggs is about the closest, but he's going to dip away more towards West Main. So I don't think Anaton's going to get any joy there. But Ayagator, he is aware that somebody's pushing onto Trench using that heartbeat scanner there to get that information. But Fnatic, from our side, from our perspective, a couple of close calls, but they're okay so far.
And being safe about it as well, the most important thing, right? The drones coming out, the cover for each other appear on the north side, for example. They've got themselves engineered that they haven't got to worry about wanton aggression coming out of Cyclops and just saying, right, out the windows, boys, run out of Trench, let's see what we can catch. Simply not going to happen. Gatorada trying to get this aggression once more up towards the north. Saw this earlier on, and the damage that was done by Black Rays, he was kind of running up and down everywhere he wanted to on the site, or around the map, sorry, was an absolute nightmare. Here he is now stepping across and catching out onto Stiggs. Now the whole of Fnatic will be aware, right, last known position about 10 seconds ago, someone inside a Solarium. They have the cross from Lusty, but it's not going to be enough. They now know that he's on the south side and can probably take over the north, but you want to re-drone it and make sure there isn't a second person there waiting to give you an even bigger headache now that the first one has been solved.
Second half of the round we enter into then as we pass the 1.5 minute mark. Tex is looking to just start opening up some of this soft floor above. He does have the breaching charges in hand. So again, it's just about gaining that verticality. As you said, Library being the area directly above the site, but also just looking to push from Master Office and just clear out the underneath, clear out that kitchen and dining and force those roamers back to site, and particularly players like the Pulse just deal with Ayagator and make him get moving. Don't allow him to stand in a stationary spot just feeding information in as the attack progresses. Now 55 seconds and Fnatic, they look to really need a kill here. They just want something to add a bit of pep to this attack.
It would have been nice if they'd caught him on the rotate back earlier on. C4 in hand, but he's so close to the doorway. The spray comes through. Tex did get a couple of connecting shots on, but not enough to bring Ayagator down. Out come the frag grenades. No one at the top of Library Stairs is going to be wasted, but Fnatic find themselves in a 5 versus 3 with 30 seconds to play. I'm not much of a betting man, Tim, but something tells me this should be Cyclops' round unless the unthinkable happens.
It really should. With 20 seconds left to go, it's all becoming a bit of a rush for Fnatic, and Mag rushes headlong into a headshot there as Gatorada shuts him down and gets himself a second onto Mentalist. That's 3 on the round.
4.
Now he does get closed down, but make that a 4. Lusty, I thought, found the kill as a trade, but he didn't.
He has absolutely tormented them on the second floor. Starting up inside a Solarium, getting the opening kill there. Lusty missing the trade back as he came running down through past Piano. Then gets himself kind of hovering around the top of Library Stairs before sinking far deeper inside of Library itself. We spoke about the kind of constant puzzles in the previous game that defenders like to put up for attackers, but here they were very, very spiky puzzles that Fnatic simply couldn't solve. And without even so much as looking at the site, he's picked up a 4K, completely shut them down, and even with drone work coming in, they aren't ready for those aggressive swings coming out from the Cyclops side. Another good round coming out of Cyclops, 2 of them admittedly on the back of Black Ray and Gatorada so far, but it's still what the scoreline says it is, Tim. It's 3-1 to Cyclops.
You've really got to feel for Fnatic a little bit, because it's almost to me as if they're coming into stage 1 again. You know, they had that situation where Mentalist wasn't available, so Alfama stepped in, and they have to start building that team and how they're going to play and, you know, getting everybody just familiar and comfortable. And now they've switched out again. They've got Mentalist come back in this time. And, you know, yeah, that's a return to the familiar, but at the same time, it's been a few months since they've played competitively together, and it's almost as if they're on that back foot again. And it really is unfortunate for them. And, you know, you're starting to just feel that difference between the sharpness and the awareness of these Cyclops players that are just interconnecting and playing with each other so well and feeding off each other to get these kills that it's going to be difficult for Fnatic to find anything on Chalet here.
What I will give to them is I actually think Fnatic in the last couple of rounds, not for the first couple, definitely not, but the last couple, maybe the one before that too, actually, now I think about it, their setup and their drone play has been really good. We spoke about round 2, how they opened up the ground floor so no one could play C4s below, and that was the kind of main instrument of their attack and their success. That previous round, their drones were good. They had the angles kind kind of covered as soon as they knew someone was going to fall back from playing inside of Solarium so they could get the trade. They're just, I don't want to say unlucky because luck's not really the thing here. They're not hitting the critical shots they need to be. They're not winning the gunfights they really should be coming out on top of, because it's almost like TSM at SI. They're playing everything by the book. Great drone play, great strats, everything looks almost perfect, and then a LATAM team just barrel you over and kill 5 of you in about 3 seconds. These things happen, and Fnatic are getting that kind of experience right now from Cyclops, who, for lack of a better term, are just outgunning them. 8 kills for Blackray, 6 for Gatorada. They're having a field day right now.
You're right, Des. It's, you know, the textbook stuff is going well for Fnatic. Yeah, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, for getting yourself into position for the execute. Which walls do we need open? Which vertical angles do we need? It's almost as if Cyclops are just letting them have that stuff. It's like, yep, okay, you build yourself in. That's not a problem. You get ready for your execute. Oh, bang, there you go. And here's this collapse that comes in from Cyclops. And like you say, they're just unable to compete on that gun skill level at the minute. And they need to start hitting the shots and finding the kills, because otherwise Cyclops, they're just going to continue doing this. You can see it now. It's 1 minute 30. Cyclops has still got 5 left on the board. They've not really had too big a face-to-face challenge with Fnatic. Gatorada's taken a little bit of damage, but other than that, it's been fairly quiet. And it's back at this point again where Fnatic are ready for execute. So what's going to happen?
I mean, at this point, you can see Fnatic burning through everything. You could not have telegraphed an attack coming here into Piano any better. Burning out the laser gate with the Iana, with the Gemini coming out, then 3 flashbangs coming through, then the Gon 6 swinging around in the corner. They were lucky with that Gon 6 that the Jaeger already retreating. Gator was getting out of there. He was paying no heed to what was coming. He just wanted to get out of dodge. Otherwise, it could have been a kill coming through for him. But for Fnatic, it's another square up here. They've got the office control they need. They've got the breach opened up. They haven't yet fully cleared out Piano because Gator has crept his way back in, and this time around, he wins the gunfight. The C4 from Suzu C, 2 kills come back the way of Cyclops. And for Fnatic, once again, a 5 versus 3 with no time left. Where have we seen this one before? Oh yeah, on the last attack of this site.
And again, it's the same process. There's Cyclops just saying, yep, that's no problem. If you want mezzanine, you want to open that wall, that's absolutely fine. But we are ready with our line of defense at the last point, which is the site. And every time Fnatic try to get in there and get in a position to find kills, to put anything down, they just struggle. Time is running out. Stiggs manages to get himself one. It'll be an impactless kill. And Fnatic, this game is slipping away from them quickly here. They're now 4-1 down, and they don't really feel like taking rounds. For me, they need the side switch here, Des, because they, like you say, they're doing everything but the final execute. They're doing everything else right. They're doing everything else well, getting themselves into position, but they just can't take advantage of the crossfires. They just don't seem to be maybe challenging at the same time. You know, they're going in as very solo gunfights and just losing out to Cyclops.
Yeah, I mean, we can say it so many times over in so many different ways, right? They're playing it the way that you should, technically, with the strategy pieces there. It's like playing a game of chess, and then someone just walks up and completely wipes every piece off the board with their hand and goes, no, we're playing my game now. The one we just throw pieces at each other until someone concedes. And that's the way it's starting to feel from Cyclops. They are playing this, you know, as you say, a very adaptable style where you don't mind if Fnatic take a room or open a wall, as long as it's not the site and they can go for a plant. That's when you're going to bite back. But they have absolutely no qualms in taking the gunfights back on the other side. It's looking really good for them at 4-on-1. The last defense is going to be down here. I said earlier on, I was really keen to see how this attack develops. Fnatic, I don't know, because the round ended via gunshots, I don't know if they knew there was a player below with the C4. Very keen to see if they're drawing it out. Keen to see if Cyclops have a repeat of it where they want to, again, send someone down to the basement later in the round. I believe it was the Mirror and someone else last time round, maybe the Mute. If they get away with it and they can reuse that strat, because Fnatic weren't aware of it because it wasn't really necessary, they could just catch Fnatic out here again and make it a 5-1.
Well, the thing is, even when Fnatic did discover it and tried to play into it, we saw the Mute just lay prone inside a blue and managed to get the kill anyway. And that's the point, isn't it? You know, Fnatic are coming in and they are finding out. They are figuring Cyclops' strategy out. They're just unable to really play into those final key moments and get the kills. But we'll see if that turns around here in round 6. We're going to be back into kitchen and dining for Cyclops' final defensive round here. And we'll see if this masterclass continues from them right now, because there's not too much that Fnatic feel able to do about this.
Tell you what, I'd hate it. If this game goes like 5-1, then goes towards like 7-2, 7-1, the stats are going to skew so heavily for defender side in favour on this map, given the last map was a 7-0, with 6 of those being defensive rounds, and this one already looking to be potentially 5 defensive round for Cyclops. And even if not, Fnatic have got to win a whole slew of defensive rounds to get this back towards a win or overtime for themselves. It's going to skew the map. There's no way of other looking at it. It will skew the numbers.
You've just seen a perfect example of what Cyclops are doing there. So Mentalist goes into library, he gets challenged, he takes, 27 health? But before he can even challenge back onto mezzanine, the man's gone over the balcony and he's down into fireplace and he's run away with his life, and he's just looking to fight later in the round. He's done what he needed to do. He's disrupted the attack, he's taken a bit of damage, and he's off. He's not going to challenge that, he's not going to throw his life away, he's just going to leave himself to fight and leave them chasing shadows and burning time. And then, guess what? When that final execute comes along, there's less time than they might like, and that's when Cyclops take advantage. But right now, good start for Fnatic. Mentalist, headshot onto Irrigator. That gets us going. 5 versus 4 now. 1 minute 20 left to go. Anaton, he's aware that there's a man downstairs with him. Who's going to find who first, Stigs or Anaton?
I like how we were flicking through a couple of cameras for Cyclops a moment ago, and you saw every member was moving. No one was sat still. Even Anaton now is still looking to rotate around the map and not leave himself static. He wants to get involved and help out here. He is now back on site, so might just find himself in a spot where he looks to play a bit more static and support this defense from long range, like we saw before. Stigs is now holding on the downstairs, so there is no play from below, but there was always the vertical setup for Cyclops. Otherwise, there's a big risk of being sandwiched here, and both sides can get them. Surely he'll see him. Yes, he will, and collects the kill onto Suzu C. 5 versus 3 for Fnatic. 40 seconds. Really now, the tides have turned. This should be their round to win.
Great prediction from Fnatic there of exactly how that mirror was going to be played, and Suzuki punished by Stigs, but he does get caught out himself down in the basement corridor. As we find ourselves now 4 versus 3, 20 seconds left to go, and I'm worried, Des, I'm worried for Fnatic being able to get in there on this final execute once again. Black Ray puts the Alder to work, finds himself a kill. Tex is looking to push into kitchen. That's great from Lusty. He manages to get in and find that kill, which allows Tex to start putting the diffuser down. It's all up to Gatterada now in a 1 versus 3. He's above. He's got the castle shotgun and can start opening a few angles. He's going to be challenged on Solarium stairs if he's not careful. Fnatic, they smell blood in the water right now, and they are not keen to give Gatterada any opportunity to bring this one back. It looks like it will be a 2-4 half, and that is not the end of the world for Fnatic, considering how these rounds have gone.
Sees him. Red ping is coming out as well. Easy collect onto Tex here, but with only 17 seconds left, that gives you about 10 to get 2 kills and to start the defuse. Not going to have enough time, but at this point, play for some pride, boy. Get them stats up, try and keep up with Black Rays on 10. You're on 8, but Mentalist going to close it out. Starts the round as he ends it with a kill to ensure Fnatic don't fall slumber to a 5-1 half. Instead, we'll find something for themselves and call out a rehost here by the looks of it before we go into the second half.
Very important now for Fnatic to try and keep this, I won't say momentum necessarily, because obviously we're having a quick break, but they just need to keep the presence in the game.
Yes.
They've got themselves that second round. 2-4 isn't the end of the world. They've got that mental element now of saying, right, we're on the side switch, so we're coming in now on the defense. They have to play into us. The clock is in our favor. So let's see how this goes from here.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to see how this half plays out, because think about what we've just seen as the different stylistic tendencies between the two teams. Fnatic, the structured ones, missing a few gunshots. Cyclops being a bit more, I don't want to say erratic, because they have been quite adaptable at points, but definitely more on the front foot with the gun skill. How is that going to correlate on the defense now? Are you going to see, or sorry, on the attack for Cyclops? Will they be the ones going hyper aggressive and just looking to burst into site and collect kills? Are Fnatic going to be hyper structured, playing behind things like the mirror, the echo, other little defensive strategies like that? Again, new season, new tastes. Maybe we'll even get to see the Flores being brought out.
Very possibly. I mean, one important factor to watch out for in this second half is the roam game from Fnatic.
Yes.
They'll almost certainly want to get out there and try and have an impact. Players like Tex particularly, we've seen him do it before. But as you've said, there's the gun skill, the gun fights at the minute, all falling on the side of Cyclops. And if that continues, it's going to make that roam super difficult. And what you're going to find is very quickly inside of rounds, Fnatic could be 3 versus 4, 3 versus 5, having lost a couple of those players in the first minute and a half as part of that Cyclops roam clearance. If that's the case, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to defend on Charlie.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of the ones that we'll watch across the season, of course, because the big story coming into today was for Cyclops, just come back from SI, had a pretty good show in there. Didn't make it through ultimately and towards the playoffs, for example, but put on some good shows during the group stages at least. Whereas on the side of Fnatic, still kind of trying to fight back to their form. Now they haven't got Alfama, for example. Mentalist in that last round having the impact that you'd want, someone stepping in a sub spot there, not just to sit to be the person who plays on drones, for example, or who plays support for you, but to get involved. He is slotting back in nicely. It's just about delivering on those end results that we're now waiting to see.
It is, and as you say, there's a lot of good there from Fnatic, like the prediction on the mirror, for example. Stigs knew exactly what was going to go on there, but then it's just that next step. It's always that next step for them that seems to be troublesome. He then gets himself caught out, and rather than have a man advantage, it's then a trade, and it just... They need to avoid those situations. They need to sort of, yes, have that presence of mind initially, but then a little bit broader as well, so that they're taking advantage of the great play that they've put down.
Got to touch on the crutch talking point of the day, the Flores again that we spoke about. It's been the Japanese teams that have mainly ran it so far. We saw at least in the first couple of fixtures. It was Fav and it was Guts running it a lot. They played each other 3 days ago in the Japanese league, for example. So I imagine in that best of 3 they played, we would have seen it quite a lot there as well. Didn't quite get stats for that, unfortunately. But I wonder if it's more a case of those teams that scrim each other a lot in the region are playing it more often than not. Maybe wouldn't hold fully true here thinking about it. Fnatic, of course, being I suppose a token Japanese team is a way of describing them. We know that they're waiting to move to Japan now as an organisation, currently still in Australia. But once they move there, based on at least where people are physically rather than based on nationality, we will have that full quota of 4 Korean teams and 4 Japanese teams. To me, it still sounds really weird saying that out loud. 4 Korean teams, when 18 months ago, the only team we ever really knew from the region was Cloud9, and we spoke about a lot of the time about the boys saying, we've still got part-time jobs working in fast food restaurants, for example. You know, we're only just really starting to warm up to Siege. Suddenly, there is a full competitive region playing in APAC North.
And that's how it goes, Des. You know, we look at SI this time around, and yes, we can say that the APAC team struggled a little bit, but inevitably, it's like breaking a seal. You know, you've got to a point now where you've got a really competitive area in Korea, and you've got some great teams there. So, you know, think about that a little bit further. What happens? You know, we talk about scrimming partners and how they struggle to, you know, maybe in the past to have these, you know, regular high-quality scrims, but if you've got 4 good teams in an area, guess what? You're scrimming to a higher quality a lot more often. And that's how that growth starts. And it'll just snowball, because then, you know, as you see those teams successful, others will come along and think, we could have a piece of that. So then the competition goes up, they get better and better. And it's all part of a process for APAC, and it's a very exciting process as well.
I'm still totally not used to spinning around, by the way, and seeing you on the big screen behind me. It's very jarring. Just know that I can look at you at any time and you have no idea what I'm doing.
Absolutely not, to be fair. To be honest, Des, I'd say the same when we stood next to each other.
Very fair point. Right, let's get into it then. We are into Cyclops' attacking half, Fnatic moving on to the defense. No Flores, as we hope we might see, but we are seeing a Nook being brought along by iGator, and I've seen him just burn through all of that charge. He's in downstairs, I think more as the one doing the initial push in, and then you've got Suzu C sat in just right behind him. By the way, I can't remember if the change came through. You might have to remind me. Did Nook get the change where she doesn't trigger off things like air jabs when she moves over them now while she's in the, well, we've got the ability active, or was that on TTS? I forget.
It was certainly on TTS.
I don't know if it went live.
I'm not sure if it went live or not. We will double check and get an answer on that for you. Sometimes there's so many changes come through with these patches. But we've got the nade coming in. We've got an opening kill from Mag on to Gatorada. Now, iGator moving up those rear stairs. I'm not sure he's been spotted out. Will get shots onto the Frost, but shut down. Knock like this, says Mag, as he manages to get that kill onto iGator. Suzuki C finds himself in the Frost mat as well. It's all going wrong, Des. The wheels are coming off for Cyclops on this first attack. back in round 7 as they find themselves effectively in a 2 versus 5. And Fnatic, they are sitting pretty right now.
Considering Mag has gone 6 rounds with literally no involvement, he was 006, about to go on to 007. He's now found 2 big entry kills starting out onto Irrigator and Galarada. Suzuki will be recovered. His leg freed, albeit a bit maimed, as he is down to about 20 HP, 1 bullet away from death. That's going to be a bit of an impediment for you as you start thinking about this execute. But without the hard breacher on side, only relying on the Maverick, they could really struggle here to get control of everything they need. This wall may still get opened up, but they can't, for example, get the one that comes into the west side onto that one reinforced wall. That C4 really could have spelt the end of it there. I'm glad that Anaton had the presence of mind to step away. But again, without the Hibana, it does slow things down a little bit for them. Let's start, sorry, not without the Hibana, sorry. They've got to start picking up the pace here. Either way you look at it, 45 seconds remain.
Fast feet from Anaton to get himself out of the way of the Nitro. BlackRay manages to find himself a kill, and I've got to say it, there's Anaton just making a little bit of a meal of this wall at the minute on the Maverick. There's a lot of time been spent trying to get it open, to say that we've got BlackRay on the Hibana, to say that we've got Suzuki on the Sledge. The Maverick hasn't just burnt across the top and bottom of the reinforcement to allow Sledge to open the wall. It's been a very intricate kind of setup trying to open a square up, as you can see, and it's taken a lot of time. Now, Anaton is there, he has the diffuser in hand, but Mentalist, look at him poised, he's ready on the door, and he finds his kill, he gets his man, and there come Lusty and Stiggs to back him up, and that's going to be a first defensive round on the board for Fnatic. And all of a sudden, Des, I'm thinking about that mental game, and I'm thinking Cyclops, they were dominant in the first half, but they're only 1 round up. Surely that's got to be a bit of a blow for them here.
And then it all crumbles, at least at the start of the round, to the hands of Mag, and they're trying to then piece together an attack from what is left. I did make a mistake, by the way. I said, oh, well, they've only got the Maverick left, the Hibana's gone. No, I was baited by the Nook watching the Hibana. Because the icons are so big, I see them, and I'm just like, oh, that's the operator. No, it's not. They're not dead. That's who's being watched.
They've done it just to challenge you, Des.
Honestly, mate, they are making me do mental gymnastics to try and figure it out sometimes. It is a brain tickler, I'll put it that way. The Flores is going to finally get picked up, though. Anaton opting to change away from the Maverick onto this one. An interesting change, because a number of teams have said, you know, Ash Sophia are kind of the go-to normal entries, playing with the soft destruction utility. Many have said that you'll see the Flores being the one that steps in to replace one of those 2 operators, normally the Ash. But already today, we've seen, for example, at the very start of it, Guts running 2 hard breaches and then Ash, Sophia and Flores together. How much more soft destruction can you possibly fit onto a team? A lot.
I don't think much. As you say, there's a lot of options there for that. Now, round 8, we're going to be going to bar and gaming this time. So, Fnatic, they're going to be looking for just a straight sweep of the defensive rounds here. If they can take 3 sites, one after another, it puts them in the lead. And that is a massive shake-up to what we've seen so far. And I'm starting to sweat that prediction a little bit less here now that Fnatic have got themselves on the defense. They just felt far more competitive in that round. And ultimately, they didn't have that requirement to put a diffuser on the ground. They didn't have the clock working against them, and they certainly played a lot better for it. We'll see if it continues here and now.
Boom. Too easy onto the frost map. It's exactly why you have these drones coming out, being able to get rid of the things that aren't too nice for you to deal with either way. Or when you're trying to look to open up vertical angles, as we saw in the first game of the day, send in the drones instead of worrying about sending in an operator like a Sledge. If it gets destroyed by a C4, so what? It's a drone. You can consume a very valuable C4, consume the C4 rather than losing something like an operator instead. Tex is now holding in the spot that I mentioned earlier, by the way. This is, I believe, is where Anaton stepped up to the window and swung on this window. Tex is playing it a lot more passively, but now that drone's going to make him move. He might get himself tagged out here as he tries to move away, but survives the blast of the drone. I imagine they think he's dropped away here. If they try and push in, he could get himself a freebie.
Certainly could do. He's looking to do exactly that now. In goes the Gemini, looking to clear out this top floor, find out who is where. They will surely be expecting Lusty to be out on the mezzanine. Such a familiar location for defenders here. Lusty knows exactly that, and he's going to dip away from that fight. He knows that the circle was starting to tighten around him there, and he wasn't going to have much room for movement if he left it much longer. But that is still half of the round wasted. Cyclops getting themselves in on that aggressive attack forward now, just looking to take over the top floor. What a shot from Irrigator! Finds the head of Mentalist. Chalk that one up, Des. It's on the board. And Anaton finds the second in the round. And Irrigator, this is all going in the favour of Cyclops right now. Anaton's getting the diffuser down as well. It all comes down to tech shutdown. And that's going to be the round for Cyclops. Whew. There's some spice on that first shot.
Well, Ace is back to sweating again as that prediction does now look to start slipping away once more. 5-3 to Cyclops after a very dominant first defensive round for Fnatic. Can't take away that away from them. It was incredibly dominant. We thought it might turn into even being an ace at one, or a flawless, sorry, at one point, as that last round turned out to be. So Cyclops definitely showing they're not going to be ones to roll over. They got these multiple angles set up. They started converting them into kills off the back of it. And before you know it, Fnatic, they weren't quite sure which way to look. Do I look out towards the west and hope for the plant coming in? Or do I worry about the guy inside the lobby who might shoot me in the back of the head as soon as I turn around? Unfortunately, they're worried about the wrong one and did get shot in the back of the head. So for some adaptation here to come out on the kitchen site is going to be absolutely paramount. And here's a replay just for you, Ace. Look. Good eye.
It's just disgusting.
You could hear his skull pop from here.
It's absolutely disgusting. Simple as that. And then gets a second as well. Nice and easy. That's a freebie in the back of Lusty, by contrast to that first one. But what a kill. Absolutely beautiful to watch. And we've got to remember, I think I was on the Ash, wasn't it? It was Alligator on the Ash. And they've increased the recoil on the R4C as well. So, you know,
to be fair, mate, what recoil when you one
shot, to be fair, there's not going to be much recoil, is there? But still, you know, you got to factor these things in there. I mean, to answer your earlier question as well, the change to knock has not gone into the...
Okay.
It's not on the live patch notes.
Got it. Interesting then. Maybe more for the grenade stack coming out, because you had the grenades also on the sledge who was crouching in right behind it too, so looking just to suddenly unleash hell in the form of grenades. Speaking of, 6 grenades on the side of Cyclops here with the sledge Diana and the Maverick all on side. They're really going hell for that here and hoping to catch someone out on the other side, and by the looks of it, might just be the right call as there is going to be no Jaeger, there is no Wamai on the other side. Those grenades are going to be ones to watch.
Tex just trying to open up vertical angles there, doing everything he can with his rifle on the Vigil. Obviously, he has no other option there. We can see he's used his impact nades, so he can't just drop one of those on the floor. They've already been used for rotations elsewhere, so he's just trying to get himself all the visibility he can from that top floor. Now, we're a minute into the round still, 5 versus 5. This is pretty much par for the course for Cyclops. This is as we saw them play it out last time. They just got themselves into position about the halfway mark. I'm not sure they're aware of Tex here, Des, though. If they are not, they need to be very careful because the pings are coming out. He knows where people are located. He's going to take a lot of damage there, though, which is just going to force him away from those vertical angles, and that's important for Cyclops.
It is. It's about the control at this point for Cyclops, as you say, restricting Fnatic in a little bit and hopefully trying to catch out onto Tex, who's already sat down now at about that 35 HP mark. Stepping into that 90-second mark. Once again, this is where we said for Cyclops, okay, we're feeling good about Fnatic now. There's good time on the clock. Things aren't working against Fnatic, and then suddenly, boom, the round was over, and Cyclops were the ones walking away the victors. You see those outlines of Fnatic scattered all across the map, by the way. It feels like all 3 floors are in use. Mag playing his best impression of a rat right now, playing on the downstairs. Imagine you'll see him coming up for an impact a little bit later into the round.
He'll certainly be trying for now. He's just going to keep himself hidden away, and it's again important that Cyclops recognise that now. We're having the square drawn in the wall by the Maverick once again. Anaton just doing things a little bit differently with that operator, but it's not to say that it doesn't work. He's got it opened easier this time. That was the key factor. That's why I picked up on it last time, because of the length of time that it was taking him. He had a few wobbles, I think, with that blowtorch and didn't manage to get it done easily. Now getting done easily is Tex there as Gatorada shuts down the Vigil. 5 versus 4 as Cyclops get things going, but there's only 30 seconds left in the round. They need to think about getting themselves established. They've got the top floor control that they need, but they're pushing towards the kitchen site. Let's remember, they're not pushing into Master here, so they need to think about getting that diffuser down. Lusty finds one. Black Ray does manage to get one straight back. This is going back and forth. It's like a rubber band at this point. 3 versus 2. Suzuki is down, so 2 versus 2 effectively. Here comes that moment from Mag that you predicted, Des. Tries to stop the plant, but is unable. Black Ray shut down. There we go. And that is a defensive success for Fnatic.
Weren't aware of the guy on the downstairs coming up through West Main. Weren't aware of the guy still playing upstairs around the hatch. That for Cyclops, I think, was just a bit of a slip of the mind and not being fully aware of those that would be playing on the alternative angles. Felt they'd done enough to go for a plant. Absolutely not the case. Although I can understand the confidence once Black Ray has just walked through and found 2 kills. As things are starting to stack up then, 5 and 4 for Cyclops. You're getting a nice view of the scoreboard here in case you want to see how things are currently going. Black Ray and Gatorada starting to both, I think at this point, either equal to or greater than the rest of their team when it comes to kills. They're really trying to race for that top spot, it feels like.
Certainly are, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous when you've got players that are playing off against each other like that. It can be a nasty thing to go up against because the fun within the team goes up, the confidence goes up, and the banter just sort of feeds those kills to come in. And Gatorada chasing Black Ray down at this point, 3 kills behind, and possibly only a couple of rounds to get them in if this one doesn't go to overtime. 5-4, we find ourselves to Cyclops here. I would say it's pretty fair description that Cyclops have been on top of this one so far. They've certainly been the dominant team, but Fnatic, they're showing good spirit, good stamina here. They are fighting back hard, and they're certainly not rolling over. If they can get this leveled up, then it's possibly anybody's at that point, because you're going all the way to 12 rounds. We could well see this being our first overtime game.
We've said that twice so far today, and we haven't quite been gifted with overtime. Almost.
Not quite.
But just not quite.
We do have a habit of finding them, so we'll see how
I remember, was it the
progresses.
counter at SI? Do you know what we got to in the end?
We were definitely the pair that had the most overtime games. I can't remember how many it was, but I think we saw something like 83% of possible rounds that we could cover.
I think we were like
12.7
round average in a game or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
They were long ones, but they were good ones. That was for sure. Can't wait to see either of these two teams step back there. Cyclops especially, given I believe the many fans they will have generated as a result of their performance. But here they've still got it all to do against the side of Fnatic. Do want to touch on in the previous round, by the way, 6 frag grenades, not a single frag grenade kill. What's that all about? In this round, opting to step away from playing that, and instead the Flores is coming back in. So for Aniton, it is changing between those two operators. Do we want the double hard breach? Do we want to have the Flores inside instead? For this round, and the site they guessed it would have been stepping to, clearly the answer was going to be that Flores. Do you want to touch on one more thing before I let you talk, Ace? Number of drones they've got remaining. Not a lot of them. One of them was in the back pocket of Irrigator, who's now dead.
Tex finding a great opener there just to set Fnatic up to level things here in round 10. 1.5 minutes left to go. Irrigator just cycling through his teammates' perspective, seeing if he can pick up any information that maybe they're not seeing firsthand. Aniton, he's just going to stay on the bathroom window for the time being. Oh, I think he just dips away at the wrong time there, although there may have just been a wall in between. I think the movement was coming through office. He's going to look to get one of those Flores drones deployed, see if he can have any joy with it. In it goes. Looks like it was possible. No, there's the explosion. I wasn't sure if it was destroyed or not because it did disappear quite quickly off our screens, but I think there was an explosion, no doubt taking out some utility. And in goes a second for the time being. But what a freebie for Mentalist. He moves round, gets himself a second and finishes it off with the shotgun. And this is all going in Fnatic's favour right now. 1 versus 4 as Gatorada gets something that likely will be impactless, but an impactless double is still nice nonetheless. He's got time, Des. 40 seconds left to go. He could do this. 1 versus 3. It would be an ace clutch. I mean, it is Gatorada. He's found himself quite a few so far. A little tickle onto Stiggs, but not enough to bring him down. My only concern here, he might be taking a bit too much time on the downstairs with 25 still to play, a smoke still to walk his way through. It's definitely not the prettiest here. There's a man laid down at the very top of the stairs. There's one more off to the right-hand side. He's going to have to run through smoke. And we all know exactly how that works out, especially when there is a man watching you. Going to have to push his way through. There he goes, and there's the shot. All too easy for Fnatic. Good coordination in the late round once again, bringing us all square at 5 apiece. Well, we are going to see 12 rounds at least. Only one of these teams will get the opportunity to close this out inside regulation time and grab the full 3 points. At the minute, even back to the wall, I couldn't tell you who that is most likely to be because these two teams are so close in terms of performance here. It feels like Cyclops have been dominant, but you look at the scoreboard and somehow Fnatic have kept themselves in it. They are fighting tooth and nail for this. They do really want to have a good war for it, and absolutely don't blame them either as well. We came into it saying, well, one coming off the back of SI, the other's got a temporary roster change coming in that they didn't want. Got to give a hat off to Mentalist. There's been 3 or 4 rounds in this game so far where his impact has been felt. It's not like he's running around and collecting 3Ks and 4Ks for fun. We didn't expect that. But for this round just then, for example, a couple of kills coming out early on. The previous couple of rounds where he found the opening kill and the final kill in the round, he's having an impact. So even without Alfama not being around, he tweeted out earlier on saying, I know that Mentalist is still going to do good work for the boys. He's absolutely doing that just now and giving Fnatic a great chance, if nothing else, getting through to overtime and guaranteeing themselves some points. That's the thing to remember. You know, we've already mentioned it so far today, but if you get to overtime and lose, you do still score a point, and you also reduce the winners to 2 points instead of 3. So those sorts of differences, whilst it seems small, they can be vital come the end of a stage. When you're looking at qualifications for playoffs, they can be absolutely massive. If you lose out by 1 point, you better believe you're going to be looking back to Playday number 1.
Alrighty, well, round is underway. Timeout is over for Cyclops, in case you haven't seen those before. Teams get 1 timeout per map, where they can take a 45 to 60 second break, have a conversation amongst themselves. Normally used when things aren't going the way that you expect, and I think for Cyclops after that previous round, they're thinking, right, this is our best time to use it now. Otherwise, it's too late. We're already at match point, or we're going through to overtime. Let's have that conversation a little bit early on. And Suzuki has stepped away from playing the extra nades on the team here as well. No longer on the sledge, is stepping across to the Zofia. So maybe that was part of their plan, saying, hey, we need a bit more in the way of destruction, or at least at range. There isn't a grenade. Let's get across back on the Zofia and see how we can deal with that.
Heading into action phase of round number 11 then. It's going to be Bar and Gaming that will be defended once again, this time by Fnatic. We saw it a number of times from Cyclops, and it is really becoming the primary site, or certainly one of them here on Chalet. It's extremely popular. There's the obvious push onto the double window directly into site, but it's just not something that we see utilised very often, because the more it's been used, the more defenders have thought about how to protect against it. We've got Stigs on side with the Frost this time, so there's a real potential that there'll be a couple of those Frost mats just inside that double window, just to prevent that quick entry directly into site. So right now, Cyclops, they're shaping up to go for a top floor clearance. Anaton tries to get the Flores drone in there, but it will be snagged by a Pest, I believe.
Don't believe you get to keep it in that case. It just diffuses it and it's then left doing nothing. It's why it's that very, very stationary. We didn't hear that awfully ominous ticking sound. It suggests it's about to explode. They're trying to get some control of library here, as we're so used to seeing. Another one goes in, another one gets eaten as well. God, guys, it's not going so well for you right now. As you saw there, I think much more clearly, by the way, it doesn't get consumed and then explode. It just gets consumed and then instantly destroys. Here has to tank it up nice and early as Mag was ready to go for the snag. He's getting tagged out himself from elsewhere, so got a bit of shit damage going back and forth, it feels like, at least in terms of the drones trying to get in to kill something. Mag blowing it up, getting shot across the trying to make it happen, but no one actually dead yet in this case, except for, of course, Gadarada. Finally, Argada's going to flank his way up through the main lobby stairs, brings down Mag, gets traded out. It is back and forth.
So close to that kill on text there that would have really opened the round up, and as you say, back and forth is the perfect description here, as we find ourselves 2 versus 2. Anaton goes to collect the diffuser, will do so. Black Ray finds a kill onto Mentalist, and right now it's looking positive for Cyclops. Lusty is the last man left alive, but Anaton and Black Ray have basically got 100 HP between them, so it's not too far different from a 1 versus 1 in terms of damage, at least. Lusty, can he find the first? Yes, he can. Can he find the second? That's the question. The diffuser was not successfully planted. Anaton looks to do so again. Is he going to stick it here? Lusty can't quite get the angle. He's got the nitro in hand. He's not going to make the throw, and we are locked into a death battle now as Lusty comes out on top with the kill onto Anaton. That allows him to disable that activated diffuser. Fnatic left it late. They allowed that diffuser down, but in a 1 versus 1, Lusty shows his nerve and shuts out round 11. Fnatic, it will be, somewhat surprisingly, taking the opportunity to close this out inside of 12.
Yeah, after Anaton found that 2k, I thought, man, that's it now. This is going to bed. It's a 2 versus 1. They should be able to close things out. But after a little bit of a switcheroo bait there coming out at the very end, picking up Black Ray and then going into the 1 versus 1. A little bit messy coming out of the side of Cyclops, but well played by Fnatic. It does get them up to 6 and 5. I mentioned about the defensive round skewing factor that no doubt is going to weigh in here. It's coming into full flow. Fnatic, as you mentioned, with now the opportunity to take all 3 points and give stage 2 the great start that it needed, given Alfama isn't present. Again, I'll say this all day long. Big shout out to Mentalist for his role so far.
Absolutely. Like you say, you know, a team that has had to undergo change recently to come in and win against Cyclops. You know, this is not going to be one of their easier matchups. And I feel like if they can get the win here, it really sets Fnatic up for that stage that we sort of expected coming in last time, you know? And I think it just really gives them that good foundation that they need. Last time around, it took them 4 weeks to get that first win. So to do it immediately here on Playday 1 and to do it against Cyclops, it's going to be a big thing for them. The question then for Fnatic, for me, comes into Playday 2. Can they double down? Can they secure a second win and start really pushing themselves towards the table? That's going to be the next sort of big step. If we get that, then I think it's maybe time to start saying, right, Fnatic are maybe back here.
Who have they got on Playday 2? Do we know?
I can find out.
I'm very curious to know. Because given we've now seen basically all the teams play and we get a flavour for what they're all about, where the strengths, where the weaknesses lie, for example. And I think it's going to lead to some really spicy fixtures in the coming weeks.
Talon.
Ooh, okay.
That will be a good matchup.
That was against their game in Fav earlier, which Fav ran away with number 2, finding like, what, 17 kills? Yeah. I remember my criticism earlier of Talon was the drone play, something that, you know, Fnatic have done pretty well with overall for the most part, I'd say. First couple of rounds, less so. But after that, I've definitely warmed into it and are playing that cohesive structure that we like seeing from a lot of teams that want to compete on the international stage. But all this talk about them, we need to see them actually close things out first days. For Cyclops, they can still drag this back to overtime. We'll have our first of the day, the first of the stage. That'll be wonderful.
Absolutely, there's still work to be done for Fnatic here. Like I say, the last couple of rounds they have felt more settled, more stable, and they've been winning those gunfights, but they've still shown the opportunities for Cyclops are there. That last time around, 2 versus 1, you know, you've got Diffuser in hand, you've got to be looking at that and thinking it was a possibility. That much is for sure. Now, the Gemini is going to be burnt to take down that laser gate. Tex still making a challenge, going to use those rotations again, just trying to be slippery, trying to make himself difficult to pin down. He's going to take a bit of chip damage, but this is all about wasting time for the Vigil. He's continuing to fight onto that bathroom window. It goes on and on. Now Anaton's going to open his, I'm going to call it a signature box hole in the wall there, heading into Master. That's going to give access to just again make this top floor hold difficult for Fnatic to keep hold of.
Shout out to iGator for running the silenced MK14, by the way. Didn't think I'd see that anytime soon, but he is indeed running it with the silencer on. Never quite sure about that. Of course, takes some of the damage off the gun as well. Maybe he's still confident that he can get in 2 or 3 bullets a kill, the sort of thing that you might do when it doesn't have the silencer on. It can help out in that case. No bullet trails. Helpful if you're trying to play more of the longer angles, potentially not get yourself caught out at the same time, but we'll see. Again, by the way, 6 frag grenades, not a single kill coming through from them. Maybe in part because there's no Ash Sophia, so they're using them mainly for things like destruction of shields, of gadgets, of utility in general. But it is very weird to see 6 being brought along and not a single kill being found.
It is final 40 seconds now. Anaton looks to push in towards dining there. Mentalist, by contrast, as you mentioned, that those explosives aren't finding kills, but they certainly are for Fnatic. However, a double comes in for Suzuki and Anaton, giving Cyclops the advantage. Mag goes down. This could be going to overtime. 4 versus 2, 4 versus 1, 4 versus none. It's going all the way. We're heading into round 13 as Cyclops level is up 6-0, and nobody is going to take home the full 3 points.
No, our first split point distribution of the day. With how the game started out, I honestly thought that we'd just see Cyclops storm ahead and walk away the winner, but absolutely not going to be the case. We start off in Master and Office. It's going to be Fnatic on the defense, Cyclops on the attack, and given how this game has been sided so far, very heavily towards the defenders, I'd be starting to sweat a little bit if you're on the side of Cyclops.
So we're going to be heading into round 13 now. So exactly what that means is that we will play 3 more rounds. The first team to win 2 rounds will win, and they will take 2 points onto the leaderboard. But the losers, they have managed to secure themselves something at least. They will
Everyone's
take 1
a winner,
point.
Ace.
Everyone's a winner here, but everyone's a loser as well, Des, because nobody gets that full 3 points. So whoever does win here will be behind the likes of Dan Wonkia, who managed to secure that full win in the last matchup. So there's 3 rounds to go. Fnatic, they start on the defense, and you've got to say, Des, I think that favours them. Both teams have obviously gone 4-2 on their defensive halves, so it's currently sitting with the defenders, as Jess quite rightly pointed out beforehand. You know, this is a map in APAC where we struggle to really determine who's going to have the advantage because it's so close to 50-50 between attack and defense. But today, it has certainly come out on the side of the defenders.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because for the longest time in APAC, we would have said, you know, attacker leaning is generally how most maps will go because of the aggression that you just see coming out and sometimes the lack of structure that can be seen in defensive setups. But here, the exact opposite. For Cyclops, one thing on keeping a close eye on these next couple of rounds, or at least their attacking ones, is going to be the drone count. I know I touched on it previously, but by 1 minute 49, they had 2 drones left. They burnt through seemingly everything and had no information left for the later stages of the round. So I want to make sure they're holding on to a couple of those and making sure they're available for them to watch those flanks, to try and catch out or drone out the last couple of members without worry of, well, I guess we going blind and hope for the best.
So we head on to the Solarium Rappel. We are attacking the top floor here. Cyclops need to get themselves inside of Master and Office. Suzuki wastes absolutely no time towards that end as he goes straight in from the Rappel and looks to pressure towards Bathroom. He's getting very aggressive onto this side, looking to move towards Piano as well and find some kills along the way, but he is going to have to contend with Stigs, who is currently on the SMG with the smoke just waiting to play onto that exact doorway. We'll be aware now because of the drone that's just gone out, but the Toxic Babe canister will burn a bit of health for Suzuki and also force him back onto the Solarium stairs there. So that's great work from Stigs just to slow things down, but he does take a bit of chip damage for his trouble as well. He'll lock himself back into that position on the Bathroom door and just again try to waste some time and just burn out this Solarium-sided push.
Very obvious, I think, at this point for the side of Fnatic that this is where the push is coming in from, so I hope they're ready for it. They've got a couple of members inside of Piano. I'd no doubt likely looking to extend into Bathroom if they have to come and try and contest this one, but here we go. They're in. The flashes are coming out. Can they find any of the kills? No, they can't. Black Ray going quite aggressive to get a bit deeper. A kill on the side. Black Ray, he's turned away at the wrong time here. Does he manage to let the defuse go through? Yes, he does. 4 versus 4 post-plant. Black Ray flanking into Piano, finds one, can't find the second. 3 versus 3, but they're going to fall over like lambs to the slaughter. 2 versus 2, and only 30 seconds remain. Aniton with a slither of HP still on side in this post-plant. We've got about 15 seconds to get things cleaned up, boys, or you're not going to stop it. One more comes through. It's a 1 versus 1 as the jump out comes through. Lusty, he's got it all to do. He's already won one of these, but can he do it again? Suzuki says, yeah, peace, I'll see you later. I'm out, I'm downstairs. Lusty's going to chase him. Does he know about the fight coming in? Yes, he does, but Suzuki wins it out. Round 13 going the way of Cyclops as they now move up to match point. Fnatic have got some work to do in round 14.
As soon as Suzuki there catches the man, and as soon as he has to go downstairs and chase him, it's going to be a problem because he doesn't have time. There's 11 seconds left, 4 seconds to get back upstairs. It's too much to ask there from Lusty, and Suzuki just takes his gunfight, no problem at all, closes it out. Cyclops, they get themselves onto the match point. Of course, it was Fnatic last time around that had that match point opportunity. So are Cyclops going to be able to close it out here where Fnatic were unable to?
That's the big question. Another timeout coming through, this time for Fnatic, who have their 45 seconds to have that conversation. Of course, I believe Cyclops can speak during this time as well. But for Fnatic, they know that this is do or die. This next round has to be done to perfection. It has got to be done right. They can't let Cyclops keep catching them off guard like we had back in the first half of the map. But one thing we did give to Fnatic was their coordination. The way they were getting the vertical control they needed was excellent. It was just a couple of surprises coming out of Cyclops that kept catching them off guard. So no doubt here it's going to be a re-evaluation of the strategy, repeating, what are we going for here? What's the game plan? What have we got to watch out for? Let's hit it and send it through to round 15. Because if they get to round 15 and go on the defense, I think they can take it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think, as we've said, you know, the defenders have seen the favour here of the rounds. It's been 4-2 both times in both halves to the defending side. So, yeah, if Fnatic can survive through this. But we've got to remember, Des, let's not forget about that Fnatic attack. It was a problem. It was a problem. It kept stalling out. They couldn't survive through that final execute. Everything up to that point was good. They would get themselves established. They would make the hard breaches. They would find a kill or two potentially, but just couldn't close the rounds out. There's a big job ahead of them here.
A big job with not such a big reward. Okay, we keep on saying it. There's no winners, there's no losers. Everyone walks away with something. And at least at this stage, the difference between 2 points and 1 point won't feel like a big deal. But Hap touched on this in the pre-show earlier on today, that ultimately we can no longer say, oh, it's only stage 1, you've got 2 stages to fix things now. If things start going wrong here and you start slipping lower and lower and down, every point will start counting when you start thinking about relegation. And for these two teams, admittedly, relegation might not be top of their priority list right now. You had Cyclops finishing in second place in stage 1. You had Fnatic finishing in 4th. They're both in pretty comfortable positions. But one bad stage, one, I suppose, stage of losing games like this in overtime where you're only walking away with 1 point, you can have an effect like Damwon, who I believe had a couple of overtime losses and find yourself slipping lower down that table. It all starts to count when relegations come the end of the year. Oh,
it really does. You can't get overly comfortable. You can't get overly comfortable like Stiggs has done, Des. And Annaton's going to shut him down. How many times? It's the 3rd time that we've seen a kill in the first 20 seconds for Cyclops on defense.
They just keep on catching Fnatic out. Yeah, it's not a spawn peak like we saw back in round 1. We said that'll never happen again. And so far what we've seen them go is say, it's not going to be a spawn peak, but it is going to be an early kill. Like you say, in the opening 20-30 seconds or so, massive of them to catch out Stiggs, who on that Ashe had quite a lot to offer, I imagine, in the way of the breaching rounds, in terms of the breaching charges, and of course, the gunners we all love to see coming out of the Ashe as well. Let's see how they fare in this 4 versus 5, though there is still 2 minutes to play. A lot of time to get things right on the side of Fnatic.
The problem now for Fnatic is that with that man advantage, Cyclops have the opportunity. We've already picked up on how mobile they've been as a team on defense. It was yourself who said it. You know, they've just been moving constantly and they've been ducking and weaving and getting into a fight and then escaping with the life to fight again in another location. And with an extra man on the board, they have that opportunity now, Mag. Let's see the pixel change. If the man moves back across here, he could well find himself in trouble. Mag's just going to hold this angle for the time being, but I don't think he's going to get the satisfaction. Sometimes those are the fine margins that we're talking about there. You get a quarter of a second chance. And
now he's managed to dip himself out towards the... Just when you're so used to a player being hyper-aggressive on the swing, they don't do it, but he does swing from a different angle. It's the other side of the pillar. It's another easy kill coming out for Gadarada, now moving up to 14. Still in the chase for Blackray, who's sat on 16. Between these two, they total 30 kills on the map. It has been one hell of a performance from the two. Still a little bit more to do, though. 5 versus 3, 60 seconds. We've said this so many times about Fnatic, but normally tack 30 seconds on the end of there. And spoiler, it hasn't gone too well for them.
It hasn't, and you know, you're not looking for a massive difference maker here, Des. This has been a close game. It's been a fine margin that it will be won by, and as you say, 30 kills across 2 players, whereas on the side of Fnatic, it's taken 3 players to achieve 30 kills, so that could be the difference. Now, Iagator gets a kill onto Lusty, but Fnatic start fighting back here as they bring it to a 2 versus 3. Tex and Mentalist getting 1 apiece. 28 seconds left to go, and Cyclops, they need to hold on here. Fnatic have to take the initiative. The clock will do them absolutely no favours, so they have to make the push here. They have to try and get into sight, and Mentalist trying to go through that double window is asking for trouble. There's 2 frost mats on the other side of it. Tex takes big damage, and surely this is a matter of time now as the bullets are flying. They are raining in right now. There's no breathing space for Fnatic. There is the frost mat, there are the kills, and there is the win for Cyclops in overtime against Fnatic.
I had the right idea as well. He was looking for the frost mats, but just couldn't flick between the 2 quick enough to get rid of both. Jumps into 1, and in the 2 versus 3, this time around, at least with the man advantage, we don't see Cyclops throwing it away. 2 points for them, 1 for Fnatic. It's been a good game between the 2, but I think ultimately what we've seen across those rounds is the team that did the most walking away the winner, Tim.
I think you're right. I think, you know, we said a couple of times, I think the way that I've got to look at that one is we described Cyclops as dominant a couple of times, particularly through the first half, whereas when Fnatic were getting the rounds back in the second half, it still didn't necessarily feel as dominant. So I think, yes, Cyclops probably do have the edge there and have rightly come out the winners.
Good and structure for Fnatic, but not quite enough to bring down the aggression of Cyclops. They walk away the victor of this final game of the day. Let's go back over to the desk and get their thoughts on this game.
Thanks so much, Des and Big Tim here. We're back on the analyst. Yes?